Gold price is down around $30 today on Monday. What's going to happen next to gold price? Let's have a chat about that. First, let's have a quick look at the US dollar, and it looks like the US dollar is now in a new short-term daily cycle that so far is 11 days old. So perhaps US dollar is going to continue higher for just another few days to give us one or two pokes above the Bollinger Bands before the ongoing short-term daily cycle tops and move up to this round number of 100 on DXY before the decline down into the short-term daily cycle low. And that top is also going to be likely the top for the ongoing intermediate cycle. By the time US dollar tops over the next few days, the intermediate cycle will be around 82 days long, nearly 3 months long. So there would be a pretty good chance, of course there is no certainty about the future, that the intermediate cycle in the US dollar would top. So perhaps some relative weakness in gold over the next few days, just a very short term, I would say several days over here. Maybe a retest of that 1920 that has been the previous all-time high before perhaps a bit of a bounce up again, as the short-term daily cycle is still only 12 days long by now. So perhaps there is still some momentum left to the upside within the short-term daily cycle. Perhaps gold might even test that round number of $2,000 before the ongoing short-term daily cycle tops, and gold is likely to move a little bit down, especially into that FOMC meeting in early May, where we expect another Fed rate hike. That means that perhaps the intermediate cycle has also topped in early March. So the outlook in the short term, perhaps another poke higher within the daily cycle up to $2,000 on gold before a bit of a correction down into the short term and the intermediate cycle low. But again, in the longer term, I'm still very bullish on precious metals. Looking at the optimism index for gold, we see it recently peaked above 70 at 71, 72. It's now at 64, so there is enough space for another push higher, again before a bit of a correction down into the short term as well as the intermediate cycle low over the next several weeks. Looking at copper, the copper cycle is now 103 days long. Usually these cycles last for around half a year, so there is still some momentum upwards in copper over the next perhaps a few weeks. But over the next couple of months, there is some risk of copper coming down into the intermediate cycle low. In one of the previous videos on copper, we've seen that seasonality usually sees copper dropping down into June, July, if memory serves well. One more thing to mention here is that our partial take profit, only a partial take profit, did trigger over here on copx, copper miners. And for more on our exact trades, you are more than welcome to join us at myfinancesteacher.org, where I publish regularly my opinion on a range of assets, including the general stock market, cryptocurrencies, precious metals, and a range of other commodities. Lastly, looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is above this resistance zone that has been respected all the way since mid-December, around $45,000, but it's coming up to the next resistance at around 200-day moving average. With this relatively strong rally and a bit of a new high above this resistance zone, the odds are probably improving from my previous mention of a 40% chance to perhaps a 60% chance that we have seen this cycle low in early March. But that would actually give us a pretty unusually short cycle of only 48 days. We have even seen cycles shorter than that, so that's not impossible, but the decline was relatively mild down into that possible cycle low. Looking at this green line, the 10-day moving average of the Bitcoin Optimism Index, for example, usually these cycles finish with this green line somewhere below the level of 40, while the recent decline has only tagged that level of 40. So perhaps that might be enough, but it is somewhat unusual. So I would still say there is perhaps a 40% chance of another drop down to retest that 50-day moving average before a new cycle in Bitcoin actually starts in earnest. That's now perhaps only a 40% chance scenario, with a 60% chance being that we've seen a cycle low in mid-March and Bitcoin will generally continue higher from here after only retesting the support resistance around 45,000. In either case, as I've mentioned in the previous Bitcoin video, we have been holding a position already. And I think it's prudent to tighten up your partial stops on crypto positions. And again, more details on exact trades here at myfinancesteacher.org. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.